Let's record. Awesome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Mario Soto Sports Psychology Podcast. I am thrilled to have a person that I have the utmost respect for. I've had the pleasure of knowing Rolando for, I want to say probably 10, 12 years, I think. Rolando Garza is the pitching coordinator for the Tampa Bay Rays. New at his job, recently promoted to that position, came from Pepperdine as a Southern California product, RCC, Dennis Rogers. There's so many amazing people who have influenced you in this journey to getting you to where you are. I want to make sure we do justice to giving credit to those people who helped form the man that you've become. So, Rolando, if you wouldn't mind, share with me. First of all, thank you for taking time on your Saturday morning to do this, because you got a lot of fans out here, a lot of fans, a lot of families, certainly in Southern California, and I think this is such a fascinating time for people to learn. We got family. I think this is such a fascinating time for opportunities to share knowledge, especially with people who need to understand how to make use of this moment, these challenges. So tell us a little bit about your journey, brother, from the time you knew you wanted to play baseball, or maybe when you started playing baseball.
Yeah, well, first, Mario, I'm very humbled that you take the time to interview, and I'm not going to call it an interview; it'll just be a formal conversation.
Listen, this is a talk. This is a talk amongst friends, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? First, to thank my parents, Rolando Garza, and my brothers, and my family and friends. During these uncertain times, that we do stay positive, and for the essential workers out there and the people at the front lines, our prayers are with them first and foremost. And that's kind of where I wanted to start off with, and kind of work from there, because without that support and the family and those mentors that you mentioned, the Dennis Rogers, the Mike Maines, the Ken Revises, the Mario Sotos, my family developing that foundation, I wouldn't have this opportunity, because it's nothing that I've done by myself. It's been a team effort. In the sense that I've had support, my friendships are there to help aid and help develop and help me grow as a person, and it's a constant, and it's to date. So I've been very fortunate. I'm very thankful. I'm very blessed to be in this opportunity and to be in a new environment or in an organization, and to grow and to learn and to collaborate and keep a system that's very fertile, and with the Tampa Bay Rays, and things that they have done well. Number one, how they treat their people and how they develop their personnel and their players. So it's really a big blessing to be in an organization like this. And thank you, Jeff McLaren, Head of Player Development, Eric Neander, our GM, and the whole pitching department, from Dewey Robinson to Winston Doom to Jorge Moncada, Ricky Knapp at AAA, Brian Reith, our AA pitching coach in Montgomery. And then we got RJ Lynchcomb, we got Doc Watson, Jose Gonzalez, and Beltro Bastardo, really heading that pitching development and that organization and that team that collaborates as well with our biomechanist, Michael McNally, and research and development, and what they bring to the table and what they help with their development.
See, this is what we love about you. This is what those of us in your inner circle absolutely love about you. You always give credit to others and before yourself. And it is amazing that, the truth is you have such humility, and it's part of the reason why we love you, and that's part of the reason why you've had so many fans be so excited about you getting to this position. But, as we were talking about off air, the reality is, you've done the work. And that's part of the reason why I was so excited about having you share your journey, your story, not just from the perspective of having played, but also from going to the collegiate level, college, and then making the transition to become a college coach, and then now a professional coach. And there's so many people who are fascinated by that because they want to, step into those shoes, step into that arena, but don't know. And so here's an opportunity now to kind of pull back the curtain and give your perspective, your experience on how it worked for you. And obviously everyone's journey is different, but the truth is it's still a journey, and and there's information to be gathered on that journey. So let's start. How did baseball find you? How did you find baseball?
And I got a good story on that. I was actually, I believe, 6 years old at the time, and I had a cousin playing t-ball with one of my aunts. Her name was Catalina Garcia.
Okay.
So I would she would pick me up, or I would hang out with my cousin. His name was TJ Garcia. And
Okay.
It was interesting because I would go watch the games. And it was an interesting component because, I would see him hit the ball and field the ball, and I would be playing on the side field. And I go, man, this is such a cool game. And I actually begged her to finally give me to talk to my mom and my parents about potentially the next year me playing t-ball.
Okay.
That's how I was introduced, and that's a real honest story. So thank you, TJ, to my aunt Catalina, Kathy, for doing that, because that was really when the love affair started with baseball, so to say. And I really got infatuated with it, and was really drawn to the game for whatever odd reason.
Did you ever get cut?
You know what? I don't know. Maybe not cut, but I know there was a lot of times I didn't play. There was a lot of times that I didn't play. So that was kind of the introduction, and the flame and the passion and the respect for the game and the love that I've grown over the years for it. I haven't lost the flame yet. I
know I could say that's so true. But look, so in, before you're a big dude. You still look like you can play. You dwarf some of these kids that, you're coaching. And when did you grow into your body? Were you one of those gangly kids,
100%. You know what?
Late, and, talk to me about that.
Yeah. You know what? I think it was 13, 14, 15. I still couldn't run without probably tripping over my feet. And 16, 17, I think I figured out maybe to run all the way past through first base without falling. But it took time. It took time and to grow into your body and develop that strength to kind of move your body in space. But it was not hey, there's a big body. This guy was really gifted. It took time. There was a lot of failure. There was a lot of doubt. There was everything that young players go to the day we went through, or I went through at one certain time in my career.
When did it start clicking? Was it at the high school level? Was it when did guys start coming up to you and saying, you know what, Rolando, you're pretty good, or you got something here we might be able to work with?
You know what? I really don't know when that happened, but I do know that it was I have an older brother. His name is Joey Garza, and he was really instrumental in really developing a mindset and a mentality to go out and play on a daily basis and have a belief. And that's kind of where he had to kind of stomp it in me, because I was probably more of an easier going guy, and he kind of pushed that into me and instilled that in me. But I think it was probably more around, I've always had a dream to be a professional baseball player. That was from 6 years old. And that was always a dream. I don't ever think I've arrived. It was always like, hey, let's keep working. I really love being around this game in any capacity, whether playing, practicing, preparing. And there was just a time when an opportunity an opportunity arose. But it was a constant. It was nothing that was given. But I was never chasing a potential opportunity. I was just doing what I really enjoyed to do, and that was to be on the baseball field amongst my teammates and my peers and my coaches.
So tell me your path. You went from local kid in Indio to finished high school ball, and then from high school, what was the next step?
You know what? It was shucks. I don't want to say years though, because I'm going to start feeling old. But it was 1997.
Okay, you're still a pup, brother. You're still a baby.
When I graduated high school, and I was very blessed and fortunate to for the Chicago White Sox to draft me in the ninth round, and that was kind of the start of the professional induction. And I ended up signing when I was 17 years old, with the promise to my mom and dad that if I did sign at that age, with their consent, that I would go back to school and get my degree.
Okay.
So that was pretty much the deal that I signed with them, because I really wanted to go after this opportunity. And I felt that I was ready. Obviously, there was a lot there, physically, mentally.
Yes. Talk to me about, you're 17 and you're being brought into this world, this machine called baseball, and you're a kid amongst men. What did you take away? What was the biggest lesson for you, or eye-opening moment?
Well, you know what? I remember that week, man. It turned into I had a workout with the Chicago White Sox. I get drafted 3 or 4 days later, and then I graduate high school all within 6 days. And then all of a sudden, I'm on my first time ever flying from Palm Springs International Airport to Bradenton, Florida. So I was 17 years old. I get put in a hotel, and then within 3 or 4 days, I got to find a place. And it was interesting in the sense that, there was nobody to do it for me. So it was kind of like you had to grow up fast. And I remember one of the guys had got moved up to a certain level, and it opened up an apartment or a room to share with a roommate.
Okay.
And my roommate at that given time is Brandon Hyde, the now current major league manager with the Baltimore Orioles.
Wow.
So it was pretty much, there was a little bit of a irony there as well, because this year we played spring training, and he's managing the Orioles, and I'm in the dugout with Tampa. And it was actually the same field that we were at when he graduated Long Beach State, and my first introduction to professional baseball. And I actually stopped by the apartment that we both lived at right after the game, just to kind of touch base there, rekindle some memories. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
So you're there, rookie ball, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that like? What, were you overwhelmed? Was it, did you fit in? What did you discover?
Well, you know what? I think overwhelmed. I think you fit in on a day-to-day basis, and you kind of find your way. But as far as from the organizational staff and the players from kind of bringing you in, it was a different dynamic. But it was very euphoric for me. And I say that in the sense that I woke up in the morning, I went to the park, you're there 9, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is. And you're doing what you love to do. And for me, it was really heaven sent. So to be in that environment, I did feel at home.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome, because I would think for most young players, that transition is tough, especially a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
You're literally a foreigner in a foreign land.
Yeah.
And you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
You were fortunate, because I know I've heard some horror stories from others saying, man, I was so intimidated. Yeah. I looked both ways, and everyone's fighting for a spot. So it's kind of cutthroat. Did you ever feel it was cutthroat for you?
You know what? I never felt like that. I just felt that I had an opportunity every day to work and improve. Whether from a skill set component, from the physical side in the strength room, from the individual skill instruction, I had a chance to get better and improve. And for me to utilize that environment to its advantage was going to make sure that I was rested every day in a good mental state of mind to go to the park and get better. And did I know I was behind a lot of players? It was overwhelming, because, okay, I'm 17 years old playing with 24-year-olds.
Yes.
But at the same time, you adjust. And that's what this game asked for. We just got to adjust. And that was kind of what I did unconsciously. And I was fortunate to do it for about 8 to 9 years. And I wish I had a good story, but every day I just hung in there. But my whole objective was, how long can I stay around the game? How long can I stay around so I can learn? Because I knew that I wanted to gravitate in some capacity to stay involved in any way possible, because I knew that kept my heart full.
Wow. That's so powerful, because I know you. And so now talk about connecting the dots and understanding Rolando Garza's DNA. Because you, in all the years I've had the privilege of watching you and collaborating with you and seeing you impact players who've been underneath you've taken underneath your tutelage, you've always pushed the process. And I've always believed you were a guy who walked the walk and talked the talk. And fascinating to hear that at the age of 17, you had that understanding, which is why you probably had, a 9-year career there, and why you've been so successful and effective at changing lives, at impacting lives at every coaching level now that the position that you've had. So let's fast forward now. You've had 9-year career, baseball now abruptly ends. What's that moment like? How did they tell you, or was it your body saying can't do this anymore?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because I was a 6-year free agent in the White Sox organization. I didn't get picked up back with that organization. I signed a free agent deal with the Chicago Cubs, got released in spring training, and then eventually got a free agent deal with the Atlanta Braves, and then eventually had Tommy John that year.
Got it.
But it was. I'm never going to be, or what to say, like what could have happened. I was very thankful for my time. I felt I had every opportunity at multiple positions, and I was at peace with it, and was really excited about the next chapter.
So when you said multiple positions, where did you start?
Yeah.
What position were you playing when you were drafted? And then walk us through the position resume.
Yeah, you're not going to believe this, Mario, because you talked about my height, which I don't think I'm that tall, but everybody gives me that feeling sometimes. I originally got drafted as a shortstop, so I position hit for about 3 to 4 years, then I pitched for another 4 to 5. And like I said, it was a new position. It was a new skills transition from position playing to pitching. But that's when I really got enamored with the pitching development because I was kind of starting from scratch. And I felt the challenges, the physical, the mental challenges. And I got infatuated with that component of the game.
Wow. All right. So now you're 26, 27?
Yeah, right on.
Okay. Tell us what the next chapter in your life begins. Did you know you wanted to transition into coaching? How did you stumble on, and how did you end up meeting Dennis Rogers?
You know what? That's a good point. As soon as I was done playing and I was rehabbing from my Tommy John, and I was actually in my hometown in the Coachella Valley and going to school at College of the Desert. So I went back to school and I started school because I knew I wanted to do that. It was something that I promised my parents that I would do.
Okay.
And they knew the big picture was going to be the best to benefit me. So I knew I wanted to stay in the game, and I knew exactly where I was going to go with it. I was going to be a kinesiology major.
Okay.
And what all that means is the study of human movement. And I wanted to get into the instructional strategies and teaching methodology of it. So I knew exactly where I wanted to go. So I started a bachelor's in science because I knew that would help me understand movement, understand the teaching principles. So I knew exactly where I wanted to go because I felt, even though I was done playing, my heart was still filled with baseball. And I knew I wanted to be around the game in some capacity. I didn't know where that would be or what level, or because I just did not know. But I knew that if I did the work and I continued to humble myself and to learn and be around people that I can grow, my hope was to create competency so I can stay around the game that I love and I admire so much.
So I'm seeing a theme here. It is a passion and love for the game. This person who's very, I'm going to say, vision oriented. You really knew what you wanted, and very process centered. You had goals early on. Who instilled those? Who? I mean, I know you credited a ton of people at the professional level. You gave love to your aunt and earlier coaches, your brother. Were those the major influences on you that really, cultivated the man that you are?
Yeah, I think it was, all my family, for my parents, my brothers, my nephew, my friends. It was something that, my mother and father are my best friends. They're there to guide me through life and anything that I have, questions about, or I consult with them. So they're always there to help me along and keep me positive more than anything, because, 26, 27, not being in school 10 years, and, starting off at the lower level classes to kind of refresh.
Yeah.
was humbling, but I was excited about it. I had never been in a classroom, and I loved learning, and that's when I fell in love with the educational process. And I knew, I go, you know what, I want to be in a forum where there is an educational process, where there is baseball development, but number one, where there's people development. And that what soon took me over from being at College of the Desert, and very thankful. I think it was probably the most, I always ask myself, I go, where would I have been if I didn't have a chance to see Dennis Rogers at my very first sports clinic in Irvine, California. I was about my last semester at College of the Desert before transferring to Cal State San Bernardino to transfer in kinesiology. And I had the opportunity to watch him speak. And I was blown away with his delivery, the visuals that he gave. And I knew nothing about Dennis or his background.
Yeah.
But I knew it was different. So right away I go into back to my computer, and I sent him an email with my resume where there's no coaching experience on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I guess that's true. Yeah. Well, but you have professional experience, and you've got something that he loves. You're a student of the game, and you're about impacting lives.
Yeah. So I was very thankful for that opportunity. It turned into an email, and then he did a big mistake. He actually gave me a call. So he goes, hey, we're full right now at Riverside City College, but our coaches usually move on. I'll stay in touch. So now he made a big mistake. I had his phone number and I had his email. So what that turned into about 2 to 3 months of a phone call and an email every week. So that was about 2 contacts per week. And that led us into third month. And then I heard back from him. He goes, hey, Rolando, we might have a coach leaving. There might be an opportunity. I'll give you a call to meet up with you. So another month or 2 went by, and he finally called me. And then I drove down there within an hour. He called me like at 6:30. I was there at 8 o'clock in the morning to meet up with him. And I had we always have like a tie or a nice pair of slacks in our closet, and that's what I wore. And that's where it started. And that really changed the course for me as a person, because Dennis was more a mentor of developing people. And I had never been in a college baseball environment. I was a professional at a very young age. So it let me see what the framework there and the development was, and how he was developing his student athletes, and how he's developing his coaching staff with his leadership.
Yes.
And number one, developing the people that he worked around and the environment and how he impacted it. And we started getting into a lot of, I didn't start really to understand him until maybe year 2, when a lot of his mentor, John Scalinas, a lot of the teaching strategies were very similar.
Yes.
And he was passing them down, and principles that are more than relevant than ever. Being selfless, the person comes first, treat people with respect. People are watching. If you're going to walk, if you're going to talk it, make sure you walk it. The person comes first, care about people, leadership skills, all these things that started coming to fruition, you started seeing on a daily basis, and then you start making it a part of your toolbox. And then you have an obligation to push the game in that regard, because you learn from some of the best. So, and a lot of it absolutely was the mental game and the skill dynamics of it and the development. But it was really an overall philosophy for my time and age at that given time is exactly what I needed. And I was very blessed, and thank God for putting me in that environment and giving me an opportunity to be there.
And that partnership, that experience. How long were you with Dennis at RCC?
You know what? I think I was probably one of his longer coaches that was there, because a lot of coaches
you were there for a while.
Yeah, and move on, and it was to a point where I know he started giving me a lot of responsibility from the pitching development and the recruiting. I felt that it would have a lot more value doing it there than potentially somewhere else. So I wanted to hang around there, and I didn't want to leave, because every day school was in session. And it was not only in session for the players, but also for the coaching staff.
Well, see, and the reason why I bring that up is because, a lot of people use these opportunities as stepping stones. And there's nothing wrong with that. Ambition is a good thing when there's a balance behind it.
Yeah.
But to your point, when you have something that you were just that's fulfilling, that is, that's intriguing, it's challenging, you're learning like a sponge, you're absorbing, and it's by arguably, well, by a Hall of Fame person that is not only high character, but he is process principled, and his integrity never gets compromised. He honors the game in such a way that, there's a reason why Dennis Rodgers is kind of a legend. And so, why do you want to rush that? Because again, we've been lucky. We've been mentored by some pretty special people. Sometimes we leave too soon, and it isn't until they're gone that you don't realize the impact that they had. And so I think, much to your credit, you were there longer than most, but you also got the benefit more than most of that experience. And he challenged you. He didn't just put you in one spot. And I remember talking to some of his players. They come up and they'd say, hey, this guy's really hard ass, man. I don't know if I could take this. He's hard to play for. And I'd look at him and say, yeah, do you think that maybe he's preparing you for what you're going to be expecting if you're fortunate enough and blessed enough to play at the next level? Do you really think it's going to get easier? And if it is easier, you're going to look back and you're going to say, the reason why it was an easy transition is because of this guy over here, who every day is forcing me to be challenged, to play to my potential, to honor the game, to not take plays off, and to come in like a pro. And not everyone is emotionally mature to manage that at that time.
No, that's a great point, Mario. And with Dennis's professionalism and mentorship and leadership, it's how you look, how you wear your uniform. Are your shoes cleaned? Are you wearing the hat properly? Are you showing up on time? Are you engaged when somebody's talking to you? All those things. It was really about marketing, but yourself as an individual, but it was really your development as a human being. And he always says this, but he wants to win. He has a lot of championships at every level, from professional, Division I, Division II, junior college, high school. He's won at every level. But his biggest thing is winning the people battle. Do they leave the environment equipped to have the tools in life to help them to create some success and impact people, number one?
All right. I'm writing that down because that might be the title of a book. That's pretty good. So now fast forward, you get this opportunity. When did you know it was time for you to say goodbye?
You know what?
You guys are wired the same way. You're very loyal, which is a beautiful trait.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if there's ever a time to say goodbye, but Dennis is a component from developing people in his environment and moving on to his coaches and moving them on to different environments. It's just one of those things. I think that I don't ever think you feel it's time, but you feel like, is there, what other opportunities are out there? Because at Riverside, I was there about 4 to 5 years, and I made very few from a financial side, but I gained so much more knowledge that outweighed the actual financial component. So from that end of it, I just think it was an opportunity that came up with the summer with the Anaheim Angels and being a pitching coach in their short season team.
Okay.
So it was right after our season. It made sense. And I had all implications once I finished the short season or potential instructionally with the Angels that I would be back at RCC. But things happened in another fashion that summer, opened the doors to Pepperdine. Got it.
And the kids at Pepperdine, here's another environment where you step into, and again, your focus isn't just to win; it's to win the people battle. And I've had a chance to watch you there and speak and work with some of the kids that you've influenced. I've never seen people respond to coaching the way your kids respond to you. And that's a compliment to you, my friend. And this isn't about, hey, let's make Rolando's head grow really big. No, I'm acknowledging the fact that you are really good at what you do. And that is, it goes back to who you were as a young man. And that's never changed. The roots of who you are has never changed. You've always been about helping people. And that to me is what I tell coaches. That's what your job is. If I'm having a conversation and it's a leadership conversation with executives, regardless of, what environment they're in, I have to remind them, your job isn't to reward yourself by sitting behind a desk. Your job is to now come from behind the desk and extend your arms and go help and mentor the people who report to you. That's what a leader does. And I've seen many in this game of baseball. And my friend, you have a gift. Those kids are very fortunate to be able to have you as a part of, what it is that they do.
Yeah. No, Mario, you know what? When you say those things, I feel that the players are the gift. They give me a purpose every day.
Mm.
And I think that's the greatest gift that anybody can have, or at least for my component, because it gives me a purpose every day to prepare. It gives
Yes.
me a purpose every day to have something to look forward to. It gives me a purpose every day to serve them as people, number one. My biggest fear, every given year, you'll have 13, 14, 15, 16 different pitchers. But my biggest fear is, what if I lose one of them? What if I lose one of them? So you have to work hard, create flexibility, work hard to create the relationships, communicate on a daily basis, and be flexible and work through tough times, which there's going to be. But my whole thing was that I can't lose any of them. I can't lose any of them. So you're constantly tuned in to serving them, working, being adjustable, making adjustments to tweak and find their individual needs. Easier said than done.
Sure. Now, how is that different? Because now that you're in the pro level, now that you're here at Tampa Bay, how is the job different? How is the role different?
The role is different in the sense that before, maybe I had 15, 16 pitchers on a given pitching staff in any given year. Well, now you have a handful of pitchers. Maybe you might have 70. From the Dominican, from Venezuela, to low A, to double A, to triple A, to the big leagues, up and down, vice versa. So now you have to really be in tune with connecting with them. And the way coordinators connect, obviously we're on the field with them, we're watching them, and we're their biggest advocates and finding what works best for them to be the best version of themselves, whether with the analytics, the body movement, the biomechanics, the physical component, the delivery, the pitch design, whatever comes into play. But you also have a staff. And if from a coordinator side, if you can pass that information or work together with the coaching staffs, and all of a sudden that gets filtered to the bigger group. So it is a little different, but I vouched to myself when I took to the job that I'm going to know what 70, 80 player plans are going to be. I'm going to know if they need to get better mentally, physically, or emotionally, or skill set wise. And I'm going to work hard to understand them and have a feel and be visible to them and be accessible. So from that end of it, nothing changes from the core principles, from my family to my mentors that have happened. Nothing's going to change on that end. I'm going to just continue on and continue to stay humble and learn and grow. And that's what I've been so excited to be with this group, because the information that's flowing around, whether it's going to be a mental cue, physical or an emotional or a body movement pattern, it's dynamic. The information's flowing, and that's what really kind of keeps me stimulated and growing and learning. So I really appreciate that, and thankful for the race, for the opportunity here.
So let me ask a couple questions.
Yeah.
I've got a player here who's asked, what's a game day look like for a pitcher?
A game day for a pitcher, let's go for a starting pitcher and say that that game time is going to be at say we're going to go at a 2:00 first pitch. It's really important, and Mario, you're going to probably know more about this than me, but developing routines.
Yeah.
Routines become habit, and they create a preparation factor to create some mental ease, but also you go out and compete and trust yourself, and in the sense of you become unconscious to make a pitch and go pitch at a time. But I would say a good breakfast from a starting routine, getting up at a good time, don't oversleeping, making sure you're getting your 9 hours, staying hydrated, and keeping in a calm, clear place in your mind, and embracing some of those nervousness or those anxieties. They're good and they're healthy. That means the body's wrapping up to go out and compete. And I think once you kind of get into those routines, that creates a little bit of takes a little bit of the anxiety and the good endurance energy that happens.
So staying on that point, um, do you notice that pitchers at the pro level are equally as nervous as pitchers at the college level?
You know
And how
what?
do you talk to them? Is there a
Oh,
different? Do you have a different approach and trying to get them to practice, and learn the mental skill routines, and how to regulate and do all those things that I know you do preach.
well, I do preach, but they're really an extension of the mental skills coaches like yourself or the people in our department that teach that area. So it really comes in that end. But developing those routines and different levels, we all put our shoes on the same way. Whether you're going to see a Tyler Glasnow or you're going to see a Diego Castillo close out the game at the Trop, or Charlie Morton, that's a veteran, they all have their routines. We're all real people.
Yeah.
We all have those self-doubts. We all have areas to improve upon. And they may just so happen to do it and get away with some of it because they're so talented.
So good, right?
They're so good, but that does not mean they're not looking for information. They want to grow. They want feedback. So big leagues, AAA, double. For me, they're all very same. Sometimes we're vulnerable. We have doubt in ourselves. We're growing. They want information. They want to improve. But at the biggest, so to do, I kind of put them all in one umbrella because they're all individuals. Not in the sense an umbrella that everything's the same, but an umbrella that we're all human beings and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to learn. And just from the pitching and the developmental side, as coaches, we're growing too. We're making mistakes. We're developing too. We're an ongoing process.
So as a coach, what is the biggest challenge that you've seen coaching, adult men who are professional, who are getting paid a ton of money, who have egos, versus coaching young men who are still coachable at the college level and more willing, I'm going to say more willing at times to really take in what you have to say?
Well, you know what? I'm going to use another mentor, Yoon Yoon,
Yes.
one of my mentors and my good friend, but he calls it the Cobra. Sometimes you go in and out with information, and it's really about rhythm and timing, giving the opportunity for the individual to express himself and get a feel for him first. You have to get to know him as a person and communicating. So I don't think there's a difference, in my opinion. I still think you have to use your relationships, your communication, and develop those relationships with your players to connect. In my opinion, that doesn't change.
Love that.
My first day of Major League camp, and I was very thankful that the Rays invited me and had me there because I learned so much from the staff. And Kyle Snyder, their pitching coaches, does an extraordinary job and is very cerebral and very intelligent. But my first group that I had to deal with on some PFPs, or what's pitcher fielding practice, was Charlie Morton, Tyler Glasnow, and Diego Castillo. That was my introduction. You know what I mean? You have to kind of give a directive, but it really started them to see who I am as an individual, which I'm there to serve them. I work for you. I follow you. So from there, to be honest, Mauro, I think every individual is going to be taught in a different way or teached. And I don't really see a difference when I go hang out in the bullpen, watching Tyler or watching Will Jensen at Pepperdine or watching Kenny Matthews at Riverside City College or vice versa. They're all individuals, they're people, and you just work on their behalf and let them know that you're the biggest advocate and we're in it together and we're going to work through it and we're going to exhaust every avenue to get you better and open as a coach as well. There might be some information that comes through other areas, but if that helps them improve, it's a big blessing.
So not to interrupt you, but if you're out there, and this may be more a scouting issue than let's say something for someone like yourself, but let's say you're catching a game. You've now seen the entire transition from beginning all the way to professional to its pinnacle. What is it that, as now a pitching coordinator, that if you were scouting or if you were looking for a talent, what is it? What's the first thing that stands out? If there is a list, three things that you would say to a player, these are the things that you need to be doing for someone like me or someone in an organization to want to say, ooh, I want to take a second look at that person.
You know what? I learned this from Dennis as well, but
Mm.
pitching's it's a vibe position, and pitchers put off vibes and dynamic and electricity. Um, Number one, how's their body language? Number two, what's the look in their eyes when they go out there and compete? And three, do they have emotional control from a pitch to pitch basis? Once those three things come into place, that's what kind of grabs me. And then after that, the stuff come into play. You know, the fastball, the breaker,
Sure.
and the change, and all that good stuff. But if there's some electricity and some competitive juices that are being
Mm.
transmitted via that position,
Yeah.
we're on to something. We're on to something.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that
Yeah.
explained like that before. That's awesome. That is fantastic. Um, if this is a question from Rudy G.
Oh, okay.
He asked, what would you tell your younger self to stay motivated? So if you were to go back and do it again, and you were speaking to let's say the 15-year-old Rolando, not the 17, the 15-year-old who was kind of still struggling, not in their body yet, haven't tapped into what might be possible. There's some self-doubt. What would you tell that younger version of yourself?
You know what? Don't be so hard on yourself. And that's the mental skills game that you do so well, Mario. And that's why
Mm.
you elevate players. But don't be so hard on yourself. Stick to the process. Don't grind yourself down. Um, uh, Without failure, success doesn't happen. So there's gonna be a common thread there, and it's gonna be in waves. There's gonna be different failures, but it also lead to different platforms to have success.
Wow, that's awesome. There's a gentleman from Japan who reached out and has said wants to know if I should come back to the U.S. because I think he played down in Southern California to learn baseball mechanics and tips. Where do you think they should go?
You know what? Southern California is a dynamic place for baseball, and you got incredible instructors in the private sector that potentially are consultants or liaisons with Major League Baseball organizations. But you have, Alan Jaeger is incredible. Davey Coggin is incredible. You got Ron Wolford down in Texas and Randy Sullivan down in Florida. You got some of the key players up in Driveline, up in Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest. So you have a handful of different places, whether it's going to be actual learning in their facility or our current situation, potentially remote learning.
One more question here. This is a good one. This is from Rob Lopez over at Pro Baseball. If you could pick one thing throughout your career that you'd love to have a redo on, what would that be?
When I look at the scope of things and kind of where I'm at now, and I'm still learning, I'm very humble. I think I'm ambitious. I want to continue to learn and grow. Um, I don't know if I would probably go back. Um, I'm thankful that my family's healthy and I'm healthy and I'm in the game in some capacity and I feel it's just a big blessing. So I think maybe all the things that maybe didn't go my way were they happened for a reason. And
Mm.
and maybe my biggest purpose was to be on the field and whatever the pitching development, but just to help people as human beings and help them grow in their journey.
Dude, you're too perfect. You're too perfect. And you didn't even memorize that. That just boom, just comes out of your DNA. um, it's obvious you love what you're doing and you're great at it. And that just feeds, you fill the room. And it's fascinating because you use, when you talked about what are the components that you see in a pitcher and, you get rattled off Dennis's list, the vibe, that's you. That really is you. Every time I've seen you, you've never had anything but a smile, a warm greeting, and it becomes infectious. And I tell people, I said, energy should be contagious. And so you need to put yourself in check and ask yourself, what kind of energy am I putting out? Am I an energy sucker and drainer? Or am I putting out good energy where people it's pumping them up? And man, you are that personified. And that, you gave me a wonderful moment of inspiration where just a little reminder, hey, practice what you're preaching, man. It's real important, because if not for you, then for others. And every once in a while, you're lucky enough somebody will, throw the Australian boomerang, where when you give it, it ends up hitting you back. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I really needed that. Thank you. So thank you for that, brother.
Thank you.
Bottom of my heart, man. Thank you. Okay. If there was any one bit of advice you would give to players who are wanting to extend their livelihood, their career, and if there's any one bit of advice you would give in closing to coaches who want to get into the coaching ranks, either at major college or in the pros, what parting words would you share?
You know what, from the player standpoint, believing your dreams and believing yourself. Player development is ongoing we'll just say from high school on, but you're an ongoing clay that's molding on a daily basis and can take different jumps physically, mentally, or emotionally. So I would say, have a belief in yourself. Don't get discouraged. Easier said than done, but exhaust all your avenues. And if you do that, and you give the mentoring, you give yourself to getting better and giving every opportunity, when you do leave the game, you're going to be at peace, because it comes for everybody at some given time. But I would just recommend that, believe in their dreams, work through adversity, and see where it takes you. And at the end of the day, you're going to be able to give yourself a little grading rubric. Did I really commit to getting myself better? Did I really commit to myself that given day? And see where the results take you. And at the end of the day, you're still going to be proud of yourself, because you did the best and you gave yourself the specific task at hand at that given moment, and you believed in the process. And the tools that you acquire from that are going to help you in your next journey, and they're going to help you in your next journey, and they're going to help you in your next chapter. And you just keep building. So from that end of it, from the player side, that's what maybe I would give some recommendations or some suggestions.
Okay.
And then from the coaching side,
because it's equally as hard. Coaches don't make a whole lot of money when you're an assistant. In fact, it's a shame that NCAA still hasn't passed the rule to have a third paid position. It's absurd.
Yeah. From the coaching side, I just, as a coach, you're never arrived. You got to continue to stay humble. You got to be ambitious to learn and acquire knowledge, and humble yourself to teachers that are better than you potentially at that given time, or maybe they will continue to be.
Is there room for that at the pro level? And I say that because, people's perception is everyone's got an ego there. And it's very cutthroat.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to make it to, the top tier, the top rung.
Yeah.
And you got to step on people to get there. How much of that is true?
You know what, Mario, that's an interesting component, because, and I can just speak from kind of my perspective, but right. I've never wanted to step on anybody to get anywhere. All I've wanted to do is find an environment and find a game that I can be around.
Yeah.
That's really all I really wanted to do. And from here from the pro side, I could just speak from the Rays. It's a growth mindset environment. So we're constantly working on each other, potentially giving feedback, positive or challenging, with the departments. But that creates conversation and it creates healthy growth. And I think that's something that's promoted within the organization. And I can just talk about where I'm at right now.
Sure.
So from that side of it, I kind of look at it almost like working at a Google or a tech company. I go into the cafeteria and then I'm sitting down with our vision dynamic guy. And then I'm talking to Michael McNally, our biomechanics. And then we're talking about elbow stress and different throwing programs. And then it becomes this big fertile environment where you're sharing information and working alongside people. And with the big operative word of what it is, it's called collaboration. And that's where the magic happens. It's not about me or what I can do, but what can we do together? And then from our department, it's not about, it's about growing together. So we're going to communicate, we're going to talk and help each other grow and make each other better. And that's been the coolest part about it. So I think nothing's ever done by yourself. It's really about working together as a unit and having what really drives this whole industry, and that's going to be developing the player or serving the player.
That's what a great answer. And I knew that would come out of you, but that was such an awesome answer. Rolando, I am, dude, you've enlightened me. You've shared so much, and I know you've enlightened the people who are going to be watching this. I wish you all the success in the world. I'm excited for, where you are and what's going to happen. Equally as excited for the people who are going to be benefiting from your knowledge and your tutelage. I thank you so much for your friendship. I thank you for how much you give of yourself, and we're only better because of it. And hopefully your family got a chance to see this. And I'll make sure that I post it right away. So as always, man, much love to you. You're a dear friend. Anything you need, you know where to go. Yeah.
Well, Mario, I thank you very much for your generosity. I'm very humble to be with you, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk to you guys, and to my family and friends watching. I love you guys and I miss you guys. And then just wanted to, I forgot to mention these people, but
yeah,
to Rick Hernsteiner, Danny Wirth, and Cooper Fouts, and Stuart Gonzalez, and our director of athletics, Dr. Stephen Potts, and his assistant Corinne Harold at Pepperdine. I just want to say thank you guys as well for everything. And the ball club at Pepperdine that had their season cut short, but ended finishing 16th in the country.
They were amazing.
Kudos to those kids and Rick and his leadership with that staff that did that there. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you guys. Please be safe. I miss all you guys, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us.
We'll see you when your butt's out here.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, Rolando, have a great weekend, man. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.